Hello everyone, Michael Lazar here. Welcome back to the channel. And before we begin today's video, I would like to thank you guys for helping me reach 400 subscribers. Now, whenever I hit a subscriber milestone, I like to do a Q&A. So if you have any questions regarding Byzantine chant or singing technique or music theory, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, I'm still giving out singing lessons during the summer. So if you're interested, email me at michael.azar@learnbyzantinechant.com. Now, in today's video, we're going to be analyzing Jacob Collier. Now, he has been on the rise recently. A lot of people like his singing and his music style because he doesn't really follow the basics of modern music. So a lot of modern music uses a simple 4-chord cyclical progression. Jacob instead puts his own fancy ornaments and makes a lot of nice, interesting chord progressions that don't really follow the status quo. Today, what I really want to focus on is how he manipulates his voice. Now, Jacob has a very wide range, almost as wide as even Doran. He has a very strong and developed falsetto range and a very strong and developed low range as well. So we're going to see how he manipulates his voice, and we're going to see what can you do at home to kind of get the same aesthetic. Now, I don't ever recommend that somebody copies a singer exactly, but it's kind of nice to know what a singer does to get their vibe.
I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord.
Alright, so let's start off right here. So right now, what he's doing is pretty difficult. He's playing piano while singing, and although it doesn't seem like it's too hard, piano is probably the most difficult instrument out there. Now, I understand it doesn't really require as much lung support, but it has already 2 hands that are being played right now. So the fact that he's doing 3 things at once, playing left hand, right hand, and singing, is crazy. Now, a few things that he's doing that I don't really advise too much is he's really moving his head around a lot. Now, he's moving it around to see the keys on the piano, but also to kind of position his mouth into the microphone. And obviously, you know, he's kind of feeling the music as well, which I don't discourage you from doing. But if you would really like to move around when you play music, move around during parts where you're not singing as much, so your voice is more stable and not as much like, you know what I mean? So let's keep going.
You don't even care for music, do ya? It goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor chord and the major lift, the baffled king for the hallelujah.
Okay, so we just saw him probably jump around 3 octaves during that entire phrase. So let's start from the beginning of it. So
it goes like this: the 4th, the 5th, the minor chord and the major lift,
So, what you can see what he's doing now is he's moving his head a few times. When he moves his head, it's to take a breath, so he doesn't really breathe into the microphone like this. So it's not as disruptive. But it also kind of is interesting because, as I said before, when you're moving your head, you don't want to do it when you're singing. He kind of moves his head around during the pauses, and he kind of gets the feel for the music, not as he's singing, but as he's not singing, which is very interesting.
Alright,
and now there. So what he's doing is he starts the phrase very back placed, because there he's gonna reach his falsetto. Now his transition between his normal head voice and his falsetto is very, very strong. So let's listen again.
The baffled king for the hallelujah.
Okay, so one thing that he's doing here is that obviously on the high notes he is making his voice a lot more back here so he can sing falsetto. Also, he's making his tone very light, and having a lighter tone makes it easier to hit high notes. Like if he said hallelujah, like if he did that, that would sound bad. But when he does a light voice, hallelujah, like that, like my falsetto is not as developed, but because he's making it lighter, it's easier to hit those notes.
Hallelujah.
So now, like I said before, whenever you place the voice in the back of your mouth, like for falsetto, like he was doing, it creates a weird vibe. Now, let's listen back a second. That's what he's singing, right? It's a falsetto, but whenever you place it back here, it creates a very interesting tone. Now, this tone is kind of becoming popular. Now, do I like the tone? I think it has its cases. I think when it's used too often, it gets very annoying. But I think when it's used just slightly like this, it has very good taste.
Your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof.
Yeah, so look here. He starts off very forward placed.
Your faith was strong, but you needed proof.
Alright, so that sounds like his normal singing voice. And now, this is what's more important. Because he knows he's going to do a high pitch or sing a very high note, he purposely places his voice back at the first part of the section.
You saw her bathing on the roof.
Yeah, he purposely starts the beginning of the section much lighter and back with a back placement because he knows he's going to start at the high note soon. So if you automatically prepare yourself to sing the high note at the beginning of the phrase, it will come out much easier. Like that's the same thing. He gets the same vibe by placing the notes very back.
She tied her in the kitchen chair. She broke your throat. She cut your hair. From her lips you drew the hallelujah.
Interesting. So he used the kind of the end of the climax to key change. So he just did 2 key changes. Hold up, listen. That's kind of like a Picardy third. At the end, instead of hallelujah, he makes it hallelujah. Like I can't sing that high, but he changes it from a flat to a natural. So he kind of uses that new modulation then to transition back into the original key.
I'm gonna keep singing hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
I want to make one comment about the way he opens his mouth. So let's start again. So if you look, the way he sings his his jaws out a little more. Ooh, ooh, and it creates an interesting sound. And I think the reason why he does that, at this point at least, is because he wants to kind of create a smoother transition into the ya. He's kind of making his more like an ah. So instead of ooh, he's singing like an ah. So he can get a smoother transition. Now is a very it also has that same weird sound to it with the back vocal placement. Now personally, I think that he uses it a decent amount. Sometimes it can get a little excessive, but in this piece, because he's using most of his higher range, I think it's fine.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Okay, let's stop for 1 second. That was kind of crazy. What he's doing with the chords is crazy. So he's not even looking at the piano now. He's just kind of feeling around and just kind of improvising, I guess. Now, obviously, he has a thing in mind that he wants to accomplish. He doesn't just play random chords on the piano. He's definitely trying to modulate somewhere. Now, his singing is crazy because what he is singing kind of doesn't match the piano as much. Like, if you listen here. Now, what he's singing doesn't match the piano. What he's playing on the piano matches his singing, which is very much, I would say it's more difficult. Because what he's doing is preemptively thinking of what he's singing, and then plays the chord on the piano that matches it. If you look here, he sings and then plays the chord. It's ooh, ooh, ooh. Look. Every time he changes pitch, he plays a different chord on the piano. It's crazy. This guy is, I would say, this is an extreme amount of talent that requires to kind of understand what you're modulating to as you're singing it.
I did my best.
Interesting. So he did all of that fancy stuff on the piano just to modulate to this key center.
But it wasn't much. I tried to feel, I tried to touch. I told the truth. I didn't come to fool you. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand upon the Lord's song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah.
Again, he's able to have that very smooth transition by starting off very light and keeping the placement that his vocal placement very behind. Yeah, one thing that I've been noticing is that sometimes he tenses up on the high notes. Now, I don't know if he's doing it intentionally or if he feels that there's any tension here. But when you sing high notes, you don't want to like really push too much like this. I don't know if you can kind of see it. You really want to keep your neck relaxed. You want to remove as much tension as you can, because if you add extra tension, that could create some damage. All right. So let's talk about the ending a little bit. Singing quiet, I know this is a weird thing to say, but singing quietly is far harder than singing loud. If you hear what he's doing, he's using less volume, but he keeps the same airspeed. The air is still moving fast, but he's just using less volume.
Ooh, yeah.
It's a focus sound. Ooh, yeah. And that's a nice riff at the end as well. So I think this is the final analysis of him. One thing that I really appreciate is his proper vocal control. Whenever you hear him, all of his notes are individual. They don't really blend or mesh together, which is great, because when you hear him singing, every note sounds precise and that it was meant to be there. Sometimes when people sing runs like they do, as if, so he has a very, very strong vocal control. His range is amazing. I understand it's falsetto for a lot of the high stuff, but having a strong falsetto range is very impressive. Now, my falsetto range isn't that developed. I don't really use it too often because the style of music I sing doesn't really require it. But Jacob, his falsetto range is amazing. I think one also thing that you could kind of take away from his singing is that if you want to kind of create the low key vibe that he's doing here, so it's kind of more mellow, is to have a behind vocal placement. Now that means that instead of singing like this, ma, you sing like this, ma. Whenever you change your vocal placement, you can really manipulate the way your voice sounds, and this is what Jacob does throughout his pieces. Overall, I think Jacob is extremely talented. I think that the way he plays piano and sings at the same time is crazy, because he doesn't play piano like just a normal 4-chord progression that's really easy. He plays all this fancy stuff moving up and down. And I play piano myself, and I would say what he's doing here is something that it's beyond mastery. He's doing improvisation at the highest extent. It's crazy. And his singing, although I think his singing is not perfect, nobody's singing is perfect. If your singing is perfect, you're using computers. And that's what I like about him. He does not need computers to sound good. So, final verdict, Jacob Collier out of 10. I'll give him a 9.3 out of 10. A rating. Very strong singer. So, I hope you found the video helpful or enjoyable. If you did, I would greatly appreciate if you liked and subscribed. Make sure to leave a comment down below for the Q&A. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one, and have a great day.